Hello, welcome to From Caracas. I'm Laura Prada. Today we'll be talking with Jamie Blair. She is from United States. She's from Pennsylvania, from Put People First organization, and she is in Venezuela currently as a member of the Che Guevara Solidarity Brigade that is here visiting, knowing better the reality of Venezuela, and with her we'll be knowing better what is this organization Put People First and the role of the Che Guevara Brigade in this time where the fight against imperialism is on the top, on the peak of all fights in the hemisphere. Welcome, Jamie.
Thank you so much.
What's Put People First?
So Put People First is part of a movement of poor and working class people in Pennsylvania. We're part of a broader picture of 140 million poor people in the US. So half of the population of the US can't afford a $400 medical bill or surprise bill that would make us broke. So we are part of that reality in the US, and Put People First focuses on the struggle for the human right to health care. So we're a base building organization across the state, and we build across lines of difference or lines of division. And two of those we think of as race and geography. And with geography, right, it's the media, it's policies that keep us against each other, keep us poor folks who are in rural areas or in urban areas from knowing each other. And that difference, the division and the isolation with geography, I think also speaks to how the people of Pennsylvania don't know the people of Venezuela and are kept separate and thinking that we are different from.
How do you get to know Venezuela? How does Put People First organization merge with Venezuela, with the Che Guevara Brigade? How it's all this gets together?
Yeah, so we're part of other networks of political education in the US that have a focus on working class proletariat internationalism. So that's how we became involved in the brigade, and that's a piece of our core political education, to understand that the poor and working class in Pennsylvania have much more in common with the people of Venezuela than we do with the ruling class in the US.
We've been seeing that now that you're talking about Put People First and you're talking about health care. How does that combines with the recent policies taken in the United States from cutting health services?
Well, healthcare is just constantly on the attack, or healthcare is under attack in the US, has been, and we see constant attacks to Medicaid, which is the state-funded healthcare program for poor and working class people, that there are new job requirements that you have to have in order to have access to medical care. There's constant cuts to those programs and hoops that you have to jump through to access them. And even among people who are insured, may have private insurance, actually most of those folks, most of us have a hard time paying the bills that we get even with insurance.
Now, you were talking about how Put People First then directly talks about healthcare, about geography, like you were telling me. How you specifically get into the Che Guevara Solidarity Brigade?
So we are part of a network of organizations in the US organized in community with the Popular Education Project, which is the Popular Education Project is a political education and leadership development collective in the US, and they were organizing the brigade in the US. So we have relationships with them, and a representative of our organization was asked to attend. And so we've done international work before, proletariat international work before. We've had members of Put People First go to Brazil to study with the landless worker movement. And all of this, the Che Guevara International Youth Brigade, in solidarity, came out of the International People's Assembly. So this is the third brigade that that's happened, and this is the first one that Put People First has had a representative on.
So this is your first time in Venezuela?
Yeah, this is my first time. Yep, absolutely.
And so far, your experience here in Venezuela?
It's been incredible. Yeah, it's been really powerful. I mean, it's such a different reality that we come from. Where,
for example, what did you previously knew about Venezuela, and now what do you know about Venezuela?
So previously I knew that, so we're coming from a state, right? I'm coming from Pennsylvania, and the brigade is international but largely coming from the US. And we have so much disinformation coming from the media and coming from our state that says that Venezuela is dangerous, that Venezuelans hate people from the United States. And being here and learning from the organizations that we've learned from so far, it's clear that people understand that that the people of the US is different from the US state, and that the people of the US have more in common with the people of Venezuela than we do with the US state, who is oppressing us there and is oppressing Venezuelans here and putting the sanctions and, yeah.
How have you lived this experience so far?
The experience, I mean, we've only been here 2.5 days and have already experienced so much. Yesterday, we learned from the comrades involved in socialist feminist organization, and that was incredible. Where part of our brigade is folks involved in similar work in Florida. So definitely for them and for the rest of us, that was a deep connection. Today, the brigade is going to see the the socialized health clinics, or the Misión, how do you say?
Barrio Adentro.
The brigade is going to see what the healthcare system looks like here, which I think also will be eye-opening for the possibilities of a socialized medical system, and also what the sanctions are doing to prevent a healthcare system from being as powerful as the people want it to be.
The brigade has a very symbolic name, very huge name in Latin America, Che Guevara. For you, this is your first time, and some of the the participants that came with the brigade, also it's their first time. How do you feel about being part of a brigade with that name, with the Che Guevara name on?
I think that for some of the comrades coming from places like Florida, for many of us, there's been so much disinformation about the freedom struggles, the liberation struggles of Latin America and of the world, right? Our education in the US demonizes all of this. So that's a sort of basic misinformation that we come with, or that so many of us are raised with in our education systems. But for the people of Put People First, and for many of the folks coming from their organizations in the US, we've already begun to do that political education internally to know the freedom fighter that Che Guevara was, and his mission of international proletariat solidarity. So
now that you talk about political education, which is the importance of political education in today's world?
What is the importance?
Yes.
Yeah. The importance of political education in today's world is huge, right? If we don't do the work to understand the systems around us, the hegemony of global capital, of the US state, of imperialism, then it's easy to just be swept up in the lies that we're told by our corporate media in the US. So it's important that we have our own political education programs. We think those are so tied to leadership development. They're so integral to having clear, competent, committed, connected leaders. So it's really important for us to engage in that.
Engaging, part of that process of engaging in political education, this trip to Venezuela, this opportunity to get to know better the reality of Venezuela. What do you take as you incorporate as a human being, and also what you expect to take and tell when you get back to United States?
Absolutely. I mean, the point of the brigade, right, is not just the 15 of us as individuals, you know, learning and having a cool experience. It's us as committed people in connected to working class organization in the US, to see the experience, to dispel the misinformation, to learn firsthand of the reality of the blockade and the sanctions, and then be able, and also to be able to share with the people of Venezuela the reality in the US, that though the media may portray the US as everyone having their needs met, that everyone is wealthy, that actually there's 140 million of us who are poor, who struggle to pay our bills. And to get to share that, and that we are struggling as well against the same state that is oppressing people here, is a crucial part of that exchange. To say that we're standing with you by fighting in our own country, and also by taking back the reality that we've seen here to our people, to show them, to share with them the truth is what we have in common.
That truth that you have in common, and also that way of sharing what actually happens in the United States. How do you explain Venezuelans and Latin Americans also that American dream sold out isn't the reality, isn't actually what really happens? It isn't the land of opportunity. It's just a country with capital, with money that if you work and you're a legal worker, maybe you have an opportunity, but you have to go through a big process. How do you tell those people that are raised up in a way thinking of that American dream?
Mm-hmm. Well, in the US, like, folks, the people that we're working with across Pennsylvania, they know from their own experience that that's not the reality. So maybe people are holding on to this dream because we all need some piece of hope. But, you know, if you start to organize and reach out to people and break the isolation, where people may be continuing to tell themselves the same lies that the media, that the state, that corporations are telling us, to keep us wrapped up in this system, to keep the status quo. If you start to create structures where we have space for political education, where folks can analyze their own conditions and realize that, of course, the American dream, I know I'm not living that. I don't see my neighbors living that. I don't see the folks across the state in rural areas and urban areas living that. So what else do we need? And I think with Venezuela, it's talking with folks. It's having youth, all of the youth, us who are coming here as part of the brigade, who are grounded in working class organizations that aren't just 15 people. We're representing, you know, tens of thousands of folks, hundreds of thousands, or the 140 million people, you know, that we're talking about, we are bringing those experiences with us to share, to say, the media spreads misinformation everywhere, right? It's not, the truth is not the American dream. Yeah, exactly.
Before, what did you knew before? This is the third time the brigade is coming to Venezuela, and this is your first time here. When you were told that you were invited to participate of this third Che Guevara brigade in Venezuela, which were your expectations about coming to Venezuela, about getting to know the Venezuelan reality?
I think I'm coming from, right, a state and an organization, or a state and a country that has so much misinformation about Venezuela. And so I think so many folks in the United States, because of that misinformation, are very focused on the violence that they see here, or that the media shows them about here, and only that. Or that we're told that the Venezuelan people, you know, hate the people in the US, and that the people in the US should have no common interest with the people in Venezuela. And because of the political education that my organization, Put People First, engages in, I knew that many of these things weren't true, but I think it was even, all of us on the brigade, it's even another level to arrive here and feel the solidarity and feel the understanding from the people, the organizations that we've met with here, that know that we who are coming, who are struggling in the US, and our brigade also has some comrades from Jamaica and one from the MST, from the Landless Workers Movement, but that we are not the same as the US state, right? We are, though we're from the hurricane, as folks have been saying, that is also the state that oppresses us.
How those all people from around the world bind together? How do you share the views? How you combine those different perspectives in the brigade and focus your attention on Venezuela with those all different points of view?
The people coming, the youth coming on the brigade, we are all leaders within our organizations in one way or another. So we have some experience with building across the lines that divide us. So within the US and also in internationalist and proletariat internationalist solidarity. So when we arrived here, it is one of those amazing things that I think can be hard for folks who haven't experienced it to understand, but that meeting the Jamaican comrades, like, yes, things are, pieces of their reality are different, but also there are so many similarities. And the comrade from the Landless Workers Movement, that what they are struggling for there is so aligned with the principles, the understanding that we're struggling for as well. So our contexts have many differences, but we all are struggling for a similar vision. And we're seeing that in Venezuela, like the people here, the organizations, the state, that the legacy of Chavez, that there's so much that has been realized here that's an inspiration to all of us and to our movements. I mean, for example, these different projects that we're seeing, the housing that we were told about, the 3 million units of housing that have been built here by Chavez, by the administration, which is incredible. And there are folks on the brigade coming from organizations that have worked around tenants' rights, so like people renting their homes, tenants' rights in cities in the US, that, so it's such a different context when the US government doesn't have an interest in providing housing like that, has no interest in, socialized housing.
From this experience that you've been living, which is the most outstanding experience, I must repeat myself, that you are taking with you when you go back?
The most incredible experience is just the ability to build this internationalist solidarity. And it's really the feeling every day when we come together first thing in the morning, when we're singing at the assembly after that, and we're all learning songs and chants from each other, when folks from different parts of the Venezuelan society are sharing with us their realities of the work that's been done here, of what folks are continuing to struggle to do, and learning from our other comrades and deepening those relationships across the US, across the world, especially with the people here, is an incredible experience that is otherwise mediated by so many other forces, that we are getting to experience such clear truth here that we can bring back and we can share with our communities, and that will strengthen our movements, against the same oppressive state.
Thank you, Jamie. We've run out of time. It's been short. But thank you very much for having a little bit of your time for us, hearing from Caracas, to understand better how you joined this Che Guevara Brigade, how your organization Put People First works, and the expectations you have on how things actually really work in Venezuela, and how to tell abroad the reality about Venezuela. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me.
And like this, we come to the end of this from Caracas. We were speaking with Jamie Blair. She is member of the Put People First organization from Pennsylvania in the United States, and she is participating here in Venezuela with the Che Guevara International Brigade. And like this, we were sharing with her ideas of relations beyond our borders and beyond just a common fight. So here we will be talking about this and much more. So you keep tuned with us until the next time. Thank you very much.